Hi, everybody, and happy Friday afternoon. I think it's the 15th or 16th of April. I kind of forget. It used to be tax day, but they've extended it. So this is Conversations with Calvin, We the Species. And this is a little bit of a monologue because I've got to just unpack how Victoria Den BLEYKER and I came together. Victoria is a freshman at Rutgers University, and through the powers and the intricacies of this thing called LinkedIn, we got connected. And then as we messaged each other, not that long ago, we're talking about a couple of weeks, and discoveries and the commonalities and the journeys and all her work in communication and media, that's off the charts. And right off the bat, I'm going to say to you, listeners out there, to capture. She has 1.8 million followers on TikTok. So it behooves anybody who's interested in social media and marketing and all of that to hang on and stick around, because this is going to be one really interesting interview, which I have been looking forward to for a long time. And we were actually chatting, Victoria and I, for the second time, even before we went on air. And there's so much to this young freshman that we're going to share. So the monologue, I call this now my Jimmy Fallon monologue, is now over. So Victoria, why don't you say hi, do just a quick little bio, and we're going to jump in because there's so much quote stuff that we've got to talk about. Take it away.
Sure. Hello, everyone. My name is Victoria Den BLEYKER. I am a volunteer at Youth Entrepreneurship, Leadership, and Development in Kenya. I've built a TikTok presence, and I love that app very much. I am a marketing specialist, and I am a Rutgers Student Douglas Class of 2024 representative. Thank you.
Which is great. Wow. So let's jump in without further ado. So, you're a freshman, you're young. So how did your passion for communication come about?
So I have enjoyed creative ventures and communication from a very, very young age. And during middle school, I taught myself how to build web pages and flyers. And back in the day, we would have our computers class, and I learned to become a typing whiz and fly at the speed of light with that. I would mess around with Microsoft Publisher and really experiment with design. And when it came to school events, such as field day or, other fun festivities at school, I was always very passionate about outreach and public relations. And on the charitable side of things, when I was really young, I ran this event with my church to earn money for cleft palate surgeries in Togo, Africa with Smile Train. And I really enjoyed promoting that. And I think that's what really sparked the passion for outreach and communication.
Wow. And I'm kind of familiar with the cleft palate because I know somebody very close to me who goes to India for 3 weeks a year to do cleft palate operations. So that's powerful stuff. Powerful that you would do.
So lovely, yeah.
Yeah. So you've been involved with journalism, and you've been published from a young age. What kind of drew you to mass media?
So what really drew me in when it comes to journalism was when I was in 8th or 7th grade, I applied to this middle school for the creatively gifted, where they would take you out of school 2 to 3 days a week, and they would really hone your skills. And I applied to the creative writing major. It's essentially baby college. And so I applied to this creative writing major, and they taught us how to really hone our skills when it comes to description and not being, you know, writing to the status quo, writing something different, really varying your word choice and your diction and your tone. So through that experience, I was able to be published in the Monmouth Arts Anthology for my poetry.
Wow.
And that poem was inspired by all the Victorian houses you see on the East Coast. And I thought, you know, this is what they look like now, kind of old and decrepit, but what did they look like during their heyday? And that was essentially the inspiration of my poem. And from that point, I started writing more professionally. As I approached high school and college, I applied to this website called Help a Reporter Out, where essentially you send in article pitches in a hope to get published. And I was very adamant, very determined. I must have written maybe 15 to 20 pitches that all got shot down, but I kept going and going. And eventually I started to get better and better. So I was published in My Corporation, which is a business blog, and they are partnered up with Forbes, which was pretty incredible for me. And the title of my article there was How to Chip Away at Creative Blocks, because anyone who's creative or anyone who works in any industry really knows that those writer's blocks are no friend of yours. So I wrote an article about that. Then I got involved with Teen Inc., which is an online magazine, but I was able to get into their print issue with my graphic design work with hyper realistic photo painting type of art. And I created a piece called Girlverse, which is a combination of women and the universe, Girlverse.
Wow.
And it had these feminist tones, but also a hint of some sort of omnipotent being. And I was very proud of that piece. And then I went on to be published internationally in a few UK news outlets. And that article was about getting hired without a degree, because in high school I was hired without a degree to a job that was in my field of interest, not just, you know, to get by. I was really, really loving my job at that point in marketing. So I wrote an article about that. And then now to current day, I've been working with Her Campus, which is a national publication by women for college women. And I've written some articles varying from very, you know, innocent, fun listicles to deeper topics like how to get comfortable with feeling uncomfortable with regard to fourth wave feminism, because that does ask us to ask ourselves some very difficult questions. And I also won the Teen Arts Award for social coverage because I went to one of their events and I covered it like no one's business, and I really shouted it across the social streams. And I even recreated the picture of that woman on a swing, that famous painting. I recreated that and I had to balance.
Right.
Very fun. So I've had a lot of journalistic experience, and I just love the ability to write about pretty much anything and, you know, appeal to any audience you want.
You mentioned Harrow. In my early days as a journalist, I used to use HARO, Harrow.
You did? I
Yeah,
didn't know
I did.
that.
I did.
Wow.
And I still get their emails every day. I used it because it helped me get interviewed. I was trying to get my name out there. I just published my first novel, and I used Harrow. So I don't think anybody else used it, but I just discovered you did.
It's an unknown treasure.
Yes,
Absolutely.
it is. It is. It is. So another great magnetic thing for me. You've also had a few forays into acting, and I love acting in film. So talk about some of your film experience.
Definitely. So a lot of my film experience just started off as a hobby. My favorite genre of filmmaking is the mockumentary sector, because I think it's so fun and so quirky, and it's real people making real mistakes and real errors, and it's just so fun to watch because you can relate to it. And my freshman year of high school, I made a mockumentary about the behind the scenes of making the perfect Hallmark Christmas movie and all the things that can go wrong. And I fell in love with that style. And then later on, sophomore, junior year of high school, I was working with some friends and they asked me to be in a horror movie. And I was a little frightened. I was a little taken aback because that's not usually my category. But I fell in love with it because when you're an actor, you know what's coming and you're not going to get genuinely scared. I like the ability to, make people jump in their seats. That's how powerful film can be. The power of suspense. I love Hitchcock, big fan of Hitchcock films. I'm not so much into the gory Saw films, but I like when they use suspense. I think that can be scarier than a jump scare. So then after that, professionally, I was in 2 feature films. One was called Immortal, and that one was filmed at my high school, actually, so
Wow.
very serendipitous.
Wow.
And that was a movie about what happens to normal people when they wake up one day and they can't die. And I believe the tagline was "Life changes when you can't die," which is very deep and dark. And then the other feature film that I was in was about very serious, actually, and it's kind of an issue very close to my heart as a college student. It was called Rush, and it was about all the downsides of hazing and, the worst thing that can happen as a result of that. And, being a junior or a senior in high school, I saw all these articles about mostly young men dying as a result of hazing, and a lot of, women too getting injured. And you look forward as a high school student and you think, is this what my college experience is going to be like? Is this what Greek life is really like? And luckily in most places it's not that way, but this movie kind of shows you the nightmare scenario of what can happen. And then my senior year of high school, I directed and starred and wrote a script for this comedy called Codename Failure. And it was about these 2 spies, your classic buddy comedy with a twist, sorry. And essentially what happens when you take out the wrong hit, what if you kill the wrong guy, and how they contend and cope with that, both in 2 very different ways. And we went to a film festival, a high school film festival, and we won the Bulldog Award for Film Excellence.
Wow.
We were very happy about that, and that was a wonderful experience. And then I also went to the Monmouth Film Festival, where I actually was walking around with my friend who was from Italy, and we were looking around and he points out a flyer. He goes, "Isn't that your movie?" And I look over and it was a little flyer for Immortal. And that was such a surreal moment because you're seeing your work, the fruits of your labor on paper at this beautiful event.
Yes.
Yeah.
Was that in Red Bank?
It was at the Two River Theater. I'll always remember that.
Yes. I have a long history with the Two River Theater. By the way, a little bit more commonality for us. We've discovered a whole bunch. I was in a horror film too, filmed in Long Branch. It was called,
look at that.
It was called Soulless.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's a zombie movie, and I actually played myself in the movie.
So iconic to have Calvin as himself.
Yes,
Amazing.
That's exactly, and I'll send you the credits. That's exactly. I played a journalist interviewing a mad scientist. But anyway, moving along. So what does the highlight reel of your marketing and your I like this, the highlight reel of your marketing and media career look like? Just reminding everybody that I'm talking to a freshman in college.
So yeah, it feels like it's been way longer than it has, but really my career started, I want to say maybe 6 or 7 years ago. So I'm 19 now. So maybe when I was 12 or 13, I got my first ever freelance digital marketing job with College Board that runs the SAT and all those standardized tests that everyone hates. And my friends looked at me and they went, "You're working with the enemy." So I did promotional photos for them, and I went to Monmouth University with my little Canon point and shoot, and I took some pictures of this bridge that said "Carpe Diem," which kind of evoked that college experience that everybody wants, you walking with your roommate under a bridge on a beautiful campus. And I sent that to them and they loved it. So I worked to promote their product, Big Future, and I took a lot of the photography for that. And then after that, I started to build my portfolio more and more. I did a little bit of pro bono photography and advertising for this charity called Responsible, and they made these bracelets that were created by local artisans in Central America. And they donated, I think, 90% of the profit, which was pretty good.
Wow.
And so then after my pro bono work and my portfolio was established enough, my sophomore year of high school, I got a job with Social Motion Films, or an internship at this point with Social Motion Films. And that was around 16 years old. So around my sweet 16, I was working on ad campaigns with Lego, Pepperidge Farm Goldfish, one of my favorite snacks, Sprite, and a couple of other big names in food and beverage. And we also worked with some toy brands as well. And I wore so many hats with this job. I enjoyed every minute of it. And I worked there as a marketing specialist for about 2 years. And unfortunately, they had to close temporarily due to Corona, but I think they're back on their feet now. And I would assist on shoots, and I would reach out to different clients. I would use LinkedIn Sales Navigator. This is when I really started getting involved with LinkedIn. And I thought, none of my friends have set up LinkedIn accounts at this early age. I should probably start right now. I'm so glad it's paid off. And then after working with Social Motion Films, I went on to work with Lincoln Beretta Consulting. This is around quarantine. This is around April of 2020. And they essentially cater to charter schools. And it was close to my heart because I actually attended a charter school as a child for elementary/middle school. So we would run these webinars, and I was in charge of email marketing with MailChimp. And that's when I really learned how to target ads in a really effective way. And prior to this Lincoln Beretta experience, I had been running the Social Motion, all their social accounts, YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, you name it. And so then to go on to do that for Lincoln Beretta was great because I already had 2 years of very solid experience, 5 days a week posting and reaching out to people. So then after Lincoln Beretta Consulting, I moved on to work freelance with Bright AV, and I did a lot of their WordPress and web page design. I designed upward of 16 pages for them.
Wow.
And then finally, this is the part of my career I get the most excited about because it's still ongoing and I really enjoy it. My TikTok account ballooned to about 1.8 million followers in January, and it's still growing. And
I mean, how?
yeah.
How did you, I mean, how, there's a two-part, I mean, how, especially for my generation, which I'm totally clueless, but how did that evolve, and how have you leveraged that?
Yes. So I started on TikTok back in 2015 when it wasn't TikTok yet. It was Musical.ly. And then I had garnered about 80,000 followers at that point. I'd gained about 80,000. And then that all came from viral videos of singing, of slapstick comedy, which was, everyone was a big fan of that in 2015. And then after it changed over to TikTok and it was acquired by Chinese company ByteDance, that's when I really started to grow a following and I got verified. Verification is very hard to come by these days, so I was very happy when that happened. And I would just kind of pump out fashion, singing, comedy content. And what I learned was you do the best on TikTok when you're teaching people something. And that's how I really managed to build such a following and keep that following, because you see with a lot of creators, when their content quality starts to kind of, diminish, starts to wither away a little bit, you'll notice either lower engagement or the following starts to disappear. I actually had to recover from an app ban in India because about, I want to say 35% of that 1.8 million was from India, and it was banned. The app was banned in several regions in India during the period of time where there was all the controversy over whether or not it would get banned. So I really had to recover that part of my following. Luckily, I managed to do so, but that hit a lot of creators very hard. And a lot of people are trying to make this their main career, myself included. And recently TikTok came out with the Creator Fund, and this is how I've managed to leverage my following into business opportunities. There's the Creator Fund and the Creator Marketplace. The Creator Fund pays you a certain amount per every tier of views, every 1,000 views. And then the Creator Marketplace, which is where I do most of my deals, is all these different platforms and brands looking to reach out, looking to create sponsored content. And I have been privileged enough to work with a lot of brands that I love personally, such as Steve Madden, Allbirds. I'm wearing their shoes right now. I love promoting different shoe brands and stuff because there's so much fun stop motion you can do with that. Like the shoes are walking on their own. I like creating whimsical content. And then I've also signed up with Shopify Partnerize, which was a beta test with TikTok to see if that would be a good way to find sponsored content. And I've worked with over 28 different beauty brands that way. One of my favorites was Yves Saint Laurent because they are so timeless and so classic. And I tend to either try to teach people things with my videos, or I just try to make them very aesthetically pleasing. And those are my two routes to going viral. And obviously introducing humor is very important as well.
Wow. So before we go on, I always like to throw in an off-topic question, which will surprise you, but it's easy. It's easy, it's insightful, and it's a one-word answer. So, Victoria Den BLEYKER, living or dead, who would you like, excluding family and friends, living or dead, who'd you like to spend the day with?
Oh, immediately my brain was torn between Audrey Hepburn and Ruth Bader Ginsburg, but I'm going to go with Audrey Hepburn, and I'll tell you why.
Wow.
I've read so much about Ruth Bader Ginsburg that I feel I know most of the stuff about her life. So anything I would ask her, I would probably have read. However, with Audrey Hepburn, I think there's a lot about her that's shrouded in mystery because, you know, she was a public figure, but she was also a very private person. And the part of her life that fascinates me the most is her volunteering with UNICEF and her humanitarian work. And I would really want to know more about, you know, what motivated her and what was, you know, a hardship for her at times, because you see all these pictures of her smiling and, you know, like holding a bag of supplies or something, but you don't get to see the behind the scenes really. Also, I'm a big fan of her film career, and I would want to know if playing these characters, you know, how that affected her mentally. Did she really enjoy it? Did she have qualms with any of the characters she played? And then she also had a really interesting childhood too. So I would love to spend the day with her and talk about that.
You know, you and I, the synchronicity that we, guess what I watched last week? A documentary on the life of Audrey Hepburn.
Oh, that's right. It just came out. I want to watch it too. That's why she was in my brain.
I mean,
did you like it?
Yeah, I loved it. And it was very interesting, eye-opening, how she got into UNICEF. She was a victim of media and trying to escape what forced her to become private. A lot of her private life living was born out of, you just got to get away from reporters.
Yeah.
And then the work she did with UNICEF, and I watched some of the film footage with children and hunger in Africa. For me, it was beyond comprehension. I marvel at Audrey Hepburn, just a great actress. And you know, she grew up in World War II, and I guess it was the Netherlands, and saw a lot of the horrors there.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so that's so funny that you mentioned her. This is unrehearsed, you know, for folks watching this, that you would spend the day with her, because I needed to know more about her. Anyway, moving along. I mean, that was a great perfectly natural synchronistic thing. So you've worn many hats in creative industries at this young age. Can you talk a little bit about the technical side of things that you've seen?
Sure.
You know, web design, behind camera, stuff like that.
Definitely. So one of my first and one of my favorite experiences behind the scenes was I was in the freshman play at my high school, and they needed someone to hold the boom mic for the different ads we were running. And I fell in love with it. And I thought, oh my gosh, I'm so strong. I'm holding this so steady. I'm doing a great job. So anything from holding a boom mic to, adjusting the camera, I've done it all, and I really love, playing with lighting. You can really evoke different moods. A quick live demo, because I have my lamp here. When I was in film studies, we were taught how different types of lighting can really affect the scene. So when you have lighting only on one side, it evokes a kind of two-faced personality. When you have the lighting down here, very sinister. Oh, that's scary. Don't like that.
Yes.
And so I love playing with lighting. I love, doing that on film shoots. And then on the commercial side of things, I actually had to fly a drone once, which is pretty fun. That was for an athletic commercial. It was some yoga fitness brand for Social Motion Films. And then also I've been behind the clapboard going, zebra, zebra, tango. And that's always so much fun. But as far as web design and the framework behind the websites we all love, I learned how to use JavaScript and HTML coding pretty young. I took a lot of courses on Udemy, and I was pretty much self-taught through these free YouTube videos. And sometimes I'll have some of my STEM major friends text me and go, I know you're a communication major, but I need help with this. And I'll go, oh, no problem, because I'm well-rounded. I know how to do that. So I love web design, and I created a website for my gold award and my silver award for Girl Scouts. And one of those included a meditation app, which took a lot of time to develop, but it got over 3,000 users. So clearly it worked well. I was happy.
Wow.
Yeah. And then for Lincoln Beretta, I did a lot of behind the scenes work with regard to their website and installing mini players, Vimeo players, contact forms, etc. Just the behind the scenes. I wrote a privacy policy and a cookies policy for Social Motion Films, because I also have a strong interest in law. So it's all these little technical things that I've had experience with.
I have an assignment for you, Victoria. You talked about lighting, and as you were demonstrating, my favorite movie is called Casablanca.
Yes.
And it is a study. It's black and white, tech noir, but it is a study in shade, in lighting, in setting moods. It is just a work of art in lighting. Just a thought. I mean, I've seen it about 80 times.
I think I've seen it 2 or 3 times myself. I love, my favorite thing they do with the lighting in that movie is whenever Ingrid Bergman has these watery, soft eyes, they pull the lighting up on her, but they make it so soft. It's not glaring. It's not right in her face. It's very soft. And then you have the more cutting shadows when it comes to, Bogart or the more sinister characters. And it's just so brilliant how they play with light and shadow.
Just brilliant, brilliant, brilliant. The photography. It's like, wow. And the more I get into it, the more I read about it, and the more I watch out the next time I watch it, which is 60, 70, 80 times. As a freshman, what role do you feel, because you're so into social media, that social media has in activism?
Sure. So I think there's often been a lot of controversy about how important social media is, or how much performative activism is out there. And I think you see a lot of people who share information, but they don't share actionable information. So you might follow your favorite celebrities and they might post about what's happening in the world, but they might not give you actionable tools to confront that. And if they do, that's great, but I find more often than not that they don't. And that a lot of the public figures we look up to usually need to do better and do a little bit more. But I think there's certainly space to do more, because as evidenced by meeting you over LinkedIn, social media connects you with people you definitely or maybe never would have met otherwise.
Right.
And so I like to use social media when I'm promoting charitable events, for example, Stand Up to Cancer's Relay for Life. And I did that through TikTok, and I put that on my Instagram. That was a local event in Red Bank. But if you were living international, you could always donate, and you could sponsor people to walk around a track for 12 hours, or sorry, 24, wait, no, 12 hours. I did it, I should know. And then, yeah, so I think that it definitely has a place. And when I started volunteering with Youth Entrepreneurship, Leadership, and Development, which was through United Nations volunteering, they were in dire need of a social media makeover, because you could be a wonderful, wonderful organization, but if you don't have that presence, people might not know you exist. So what good is a resource if it's not readily available to be utilized? So we made the colors a bit brighter, a bit more eye-catching. I edited a video for them. We got the CEO to speak a little bit, and we green screened in a very official looking background. And it's the equivalent of giving someone a makeover, but it's a makeover for social change. Right. So I love it a lot. And right now I'm actually working on compiling everything I've learned and creating this Instagram/website called Actionable Activism. And what I want to do is I want it to be essentially a directory for places you can volunteer, donate to, et cetera, based on the social change issue you're interested in, because I have yet to see a really consistent directory that actually, gives you steps. There's places that provide education, but education isn't going to inevitably change everything. You actually need to take action. And then sometimes you'll try to educate people, but they just don't want to listen. So to tell them, okay, if you want to help, do this, this, and this, I think some people are more inclined to listen to that than you going on a lecture. But then some people like to learn. So I think people should be given that option. And so I think social media plays a huge role in connecting people.
And I'm a big fan of that, because I live on LinkedIn. So yes. You founded your own social media marketing business, VDB Digital. Couple of words on the journey to having started that. Again, I make my comment, which I've done several times. You're just a freshman in college.
Yeah, thanks. So when I started to kind of balloon and grow on TikTok, I thought, I've been doing all this freelance advertising, et cetera, but I have yet to really brand it and put it all in one place. So after I started getting more and more of these freelance jobs, I thought, wait a minute, I should make my own firm. And then maybe eventually later on in life, I'll hire more people. My ultimate dream is to own an international marketing firm, possibly in Madrid, because I think that would be amazing. I love their work-life culture in Spain. And I think it would be good because it would chip away at that kind of workaholic culture that's been ingrained in us in the United States. So I started to compile all the freelance work I'd been doing and really promoting that, putting it out there portfolio style, and reaching out to more clients, whether it be on LinkedIn or through Facebook groups. There's so many small business accounts for, anywhere on the East Coast or West Coast. They're very popular. So you'll see, California small businesses, New Jersey small businesses, New York. And I love working with small businesses because you're working with real people as opposed to someone who's wherever on the food chain. You're working with the owners, you're working with the founders. So as much as I like working with big brands, I really founded my marketing business with the intention of working with small companies.
Smart. We could talk about that off camera. The the pros of working with small business.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
definitely.
I have some thoughts about that. Have you had any particular obstacles of note in doing the kind of things that you're doing?
Yes. So this is kind of a comical obstacle, but it's something that happens in video production all the time. One thing goes amiss during a shoot, you have to do a reshoot, you have to adapt. There was a Bed Bath and Beyond commercial that I was working on with Social Motion Films. And I was very excited because from a young age, I've been a very frugal individual and I stored all my Bed Bath and Beyond coupons waiting to go to Bed Bath and Beyond. So I was fangirling, I was excited. So we're on the shoot and it's for a weighted blanket by Bed Bath and Beyond. And we shoot the entire thing. We had outsourced some of the stock footage to this company in Poland, and they were shooting videos of this adorable couple and the child that looked like they came right out of central casting. And so some of the shots were from Poland and then the up close shots were from America. So we're reviewing the footage. And Bed Bath and Beyond goes, yeah, the American footage is fine. Now show us the footage of the family. Show us, the blanket being used. So we show them those clips. They go, their face falls, and immediately I can tell something is wrong. They go, the blanket's upside down. But keep in mind, the blanket looked almost virtually the same from both sides.
Right.
So I could see I had two bosses. It was essentially two bosses and me working in this tiny little office because it was a very small operation for a lot of big clients. So my boss, who's a little more outspoken, goes, what do you mean? What do you mean it's on the wrong side? And they go, well, this all has to be redone. And by this point, it's been, days, weeks since the actual shoot happened. So we have to regroup and we have to rehire the models, and we kind of had to cut our losses. And my boss sends me the videos. He goes, can you cut this up? Can you do something with it to make sure it looks like it's on the right side for most of the video? I go, okay. So I had to slow down some of the clips. So it was more of a slow rollout of the blanket and find some creative solutions, and close up on the family so you can't see the blanket, and cut in between that and the right side of the blanket. So that's just kind of a silly example, but it's one of those moments where you really have to be adaptable because the customer is always right.
Of course.
Yep.
Yeah. As we wind down, you have this remarkable proclivity to do things in the nonprofit sector. Talk a little bit about some of the volunteering that you've done. I think it's such a great role model as a freshman. There, I said it again.
One thing that I love about volunteering and the philanthropic sector is that, your age isn't necessarily indicative of your experience. People don't really judge you because they're just happy to have someone to help. So I love that so much. And one of my first experiences as a very young child was with Clean Ocean Action. And I loved it because I love the beach. I'm such a beach girl. And as a child, I thought, who could ever want to hurt these poor turtles with their litter? We have to clean this up. And so I was about maybe I don't know, a tween, early teen. And I volunteered to be the assistant manager for the beach sweeps. I was handing out the gloves. I was using the little trash pickers. And that's really what sparked the love for it. And a couple of other examples, I did Relay for Life. That was for cancer fundraising, and then, cancer research. And then I did Cinderella's Closet, where essentially you would help, style and tailor these dresses to these young women who couldn't afford a prom dress. And what was great about that was I actually got to use some of my language skills in Spanish because a lot of the people coming in spoke Spanish, and a lot of them were having a little trouble communicating in English. So I just switched over, and I was a little worried, oh, am I going to say something wrong? But they seemed to be really appreciative. So I really enjoyed that experience a lot because everyone was very fun to talk to. And then, as I mentioned, I volunteer with Yelled. I'm in the Girl Scouts. I'm trying to think if I'm forgetting anything. Oh, I've done a bunch of, just service on my own with Be My Eyes, which helps blind people and low-sighted people, and it's an app. I've done some translation volunteering as well because there's an app called Tarjimly with refugees where you can translate what they're saying back and forth with caseworker.
Oh, you mentioned Girl Scout. You've done something You won a gold award, Girl Scout Gold Award. That's only given to like 5 or 10% of the whole. That's a pretty prestigious award you won.
Yeah, definitely. It was an 80-hour project, which doesn't sound like a lot at the onset, but it was actually 100 hours because we got 20 hours of research. So I researched this gold award very hard because I really wanted to do it right. My silver award before that, because I've gotten bronze, silver, and gold. My silver award before that was about environmental awareness, which I considered myself pretty knowledgeable about, and I was very confident. And I filmed this public service announcement about, you know, the effects of non-biodegradable plastic, etc. So I felt very confident. Now with the Girl Scout Gold Award, I felt a little less confident because I thought, you know, there's so much about mental health we don't know, regardless of who you are, regardless of your experience. There's only room to learn more. And so I achieved my Girl Scout Gold Award this past summer. I researched it extensively. And, you know, this was at the around 2019 point, and I had to move many aspects of the project online because of Corona, which happened about halfway through my project. Prior to it going online, I visited the Boys and Girls Club in Red Bank, and I handed out these stress balls, a little over 115 stress balls that I had handwritten positive messages on the back of. And then I also walked them through some breathing skills, such as the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 technique, where you take in the different things around you, 5 things you see, 4 things you hear, etc. And that's supposed to calm you down while breathing slowly and deeply. And I, after this, designed a meditation app as I was bringing my project online called Take 10. And the Take 10 website had an online chat forum for teens struggling with their mental health. I'm very passionate about the ability media has to communicate powerful messages about social change. And so I also brought that to Instagram and Facebook, and I did these Instagram live sessions where I talked things through with people, and I provided more coping skills and grounding skills and just kind of gave people a space to vent. And I was very, very proud of my Girl Scout Gold Award because I do feel that I touched quite a few lives. The website had over 7,000 users, and the meditation app had over 3,000.
Wow. You mentioned, I heard you mention Spanish, but you also did my homework, Chinese and conversational Japanese.
Yeah.
So it's great. Multilingual like that. Just again, a college freshman, 3 languages. You have also. By the way, you mentioned Clean Ocean Action. I've done my thing with college freshmen in Belmar, walking around a whole day cleaning beaches, picking up plastic. You can't believe the amount of plastic you pick up in the sand, and it was a great experience for me, a learning experience in my environmental awareness. So you did Clean Ocean Action, so did I. You have this great strong interest in social justice, and which has led you as a freshman, I love repeating, to a career in university politics. So what initiatives and positions are you taking up at Rutgers, and exactly what are you? I believe you're on the student assembly.
Yes, definitely. Okay. So I got my start in the fall when my dear friend Nina Goel, who I had met at a Rotary Youth leadership event years ago, she reached out to me because she was a year ahead of me or so at Rutgers, and she said, "You would be great for student government. I really think you should run. Come on my ticket." So if it weren't for her, I don't know if I would have worked up, the courage and the campaigning to be able to do so. So a big thank you to her. And I ran for the Douglas class of 2024 representative position. And my situation was kind of unique because I am currently living off campus, but the Douglas ladies were in need of representation. So I wasn't really a part of the college, but I loved all the women in the college. So I was essentially the go-between, the messenger. And a big concern from them was Zoom bombing and then also mental health during the time of Corona and all that. So I am still developing, but I'm still developing this bill for Zoom safety. And I put out some Zoom safety guidelines that have been sent to the student body through our RUSA account, but I wanted to do more. So I want RUSA to adopt the official Zoom safety guidelines of the Federal Bureau of Investigation, because I think a lot of these smaller organizations, not necessarily Rutgers classes, because those are very safe, but these smaller organizations who aren't really equipped with the security to hold online events, I think really need some sort of cohesive guidelines that they don't have to search for under 1 million different tabs and find way down on the Rutgers website. It needs to be way more accessible, especially for those who are just not super technically apt. I totally understand not being technologically apt because, you know, Zoom fatigue, you get Zoom brain, it's easy to slip up. So it's nice to have guidelines there for you. So that's one thing I'm working on. I worked on a finals week campaign in order to, you know, promote a very, you know, calming, let's wind down culture for the student body in the fall. And I worked with our PR team on that. And then more exciting news, recently, I ran for the Senate spot for the School of Arts and Sciences. And it was very steep competition this year because there were only 13 spots available. And I think we had somewhere close to maybe 20 something or 30 something people running, and they're all incredible. So I thought to myself, I could very easily lose this, but I would be just as happy because I would still be able to help the student body in my capacity as representative. But a lot of the problems people spoke to me about needed to be addressed on the Senate level. So I ran and I lobbied and I ran a really hard campaign. I was really excited and I got it. And I was so happy about that. And so those election results are going to be certified, I think, in a few days from now. But the preliminary results came out and I was very happy for all the support. It was an incredibly close election. And so in the future, I really would want to work on doubling the Pell Grant because my dear friend Miguel from Legislative Affairs has been heading this whole movement to double the Pell Grant. I'm really proud that this past year we've divested from fossil fuels because I was a part of the assembly when it happened. What a historic time to be a part of the assembly. And then also we want to divest from companies that are involved in forced labor with regard to the genocide in China. I don't know how much you know about that, but there's a big issue with forced labor when it comes to all these clothing companies. And we are trying to pass an ad hoc to investigate all these investments that Rutgers has. And if they don't find anything, that's great, but we really want to research where all the money from Rutgers is going because it's a very serious human rights issue. And, you know, China has a lot of close business deals with the United States.
Yes.
So we recently passed legislation to stand in solidarity with those oppressed groups in China and also establish a research committee. So it's amazing the global implications of a university from New Jersey and just some students, what they can do. They're all incredible. So I've really enjoyed my time in RUSA and I can't wait to do more this coming fall.
That's great. So congratulations. I'm one of the first to congratulate you. That's
Thank you.
You know, it's funny, there was a saying about Rutgers, but it does have global. We were talking about that before we went on air. You know, the people who've come out of Rutgers, what Rutgers is all about. We've been at the forefront of social change for a long time. And my listening to you and stuff that you're doing, and what Rutgers is going to do to bring awareness and to investigate those kind of issues. I think it's great, and I'm always here if I can ever, as a journalist, help because I believe in that stuff. I believe in a lot of stuff that you're doing. So finally, I think are you what kind of other things are you working on now? Anything of note?
Yeah, definitely. So from a business standpoint, from a commercial standpoint, I have been working with Her Campus Trendsetters, And I recently was invited to their Spring Refresh campaign, which is partnering with Steve Madden and their new masks collection. So it's Steve Madden, I want to say Bliss, which is a beauty brand, Coca-Cola, and a bunch of other incredible brands. There was one called Black Market, and that was a fragrance brand started by this incredible woman named Faith Nixon. She donates a lot of profit to, you know, amazing causes. And the one I'm really excited about, though, is Coca-Cola, because it's their biggest ad campaign for a beverage in 10 years. And it's Coke with coffee. And I actually have a shipment coming tomorrow. It's a huge, huge box.
Wow.
And so I'm doing a lot of photography for them. So that'll be really exciting, and some video content for Instagram. And then from a philanthropic standpoint, I am working on a Use Your Voice Week. This I am so excited about. I just got out of a meeting for it earlier today. And we're incentivizing the student body to donate vocal recordings through vocalid.ai in order to provide personalized voices with people with speechlessness conditions and cerebral palsy. So they take the syllables and they chop them down to create these beautiful, very smooth, personalized voices. Wow. And so that's going to be a week-long campaign. That's from the 19th, which is Monday, to the 26th, which is next Monday. And I'm going to be hosting a kickoff call. The CEO of Vocal ID will be there. I was so happy she agreed to come. And yeah, so, and then I'm also working on the Zoom safety bill I mentioned, very excited about that. I have a campaign with this athleisure, which is just kind of athletic loungewear company called Zarina. It's Russian inspired fashion. And then also, this is a new development, Calvin, that I did not get to tell you about. So this is exciting, fun surprise. Are You Progressive, which is this club at Rutgers. They reached out to me literally this morning and they said, hey, we need a social media coordinator. And I go, oh, that's right up my alley. So I think I'll be doing their social media, which is so exciting. And then they're doing a lot of cool stuff with doubling the Pell Grant and also some environmental things with solar panels on campus. And then I'm running for social chair of my fraternity. I was the initiate social chair. And I'm hoping I can be the overall fraternity social chair so I can plan some of these service and then just fun social events. So I think that sums up everything I've been working on.
Wow.
It's been a busy bee.
It's a wow. And I'm sitting here marveling. Hey, it's your journey. And the little jolts of lightning here, thinking back to when I was in school, and I at times quote this wonderful book by Aldous Huxley, It's a Brave New World. So listening to you, I'm saying to myself, it's a brave new world. And sometimes when I scratch my head and I worry about the future, and this is kind of heavy, then I sit and I listen to people like you and your energy and your passion and what you achieved at such a young age, and it kind of makes me feel good about the future. I mean, that's heavy stuff.
Oh, thank you.
And I don't want to be overwhelmingly heavy, yes, on a Friday afternoon, but it's been absolutely delightful, and I cannot thank you enough, for finding me on LinkedIn and beginning this process, and how we're sitting here today. And I'll say it on air, you know, of course, come back. I'm here. This channel keeps growing, and we can explore and do other things. And you know, we are bonded by Rutgers, and that's a very important bond.
I have my flag over here. Hold on.
Okay,
there
I see
it.
And I got mine right behind.
Amazing.
Always there. And we are very special. Rutgers is very special. So Victoria, thank you so much. To be continued. Have a wonderful weekend. And
you too. Thank you.
Yes, and I can't thank you enough for this. So you be well.